Schmoedown Rocks episode 100! And it's, of course, Spectacular 5 of all days, too. Something to celebrate. I mean, to be one of the last things, I wanted to let this be recorded before 2020 ends, because it was one of the last things of 2020, despite them dragging it out into 2021, because they got nothing going on in January, so I was just, whatever. But regardless, there's that. There's free agency we're going to talk about pretty much, and the cutscenes, the many cutscenes that have been so dormant throughout most of this season because of the pandemic and everything, and the fact that they were able to make spectacular as they could, given that they had to do this thing virtually as well, and that, you know, no one else in 2020 was willing enough to give their shit together to allow us as Schmoedown fans to have what we needed to have. You know, and those that were burn injured fans. In fact, probably a lot of those that were kind of pissed about the way that situation went, and probably, I feel bad for them. I really do. I'm just lucky at least some of them decided to hop on the dungeon a little bit, or at least, you know, be more involved in the dungeon in a way. And those who are, you know who you are. I appreciate you, especially given what happened with that. And I'm not even talking about the match. Oh, no. Even though that's another rant entirely that I've already done, and I'm going to do even more in this video because fucking Chandru. But anyways. The first match, couple matches, I didn't get to properly see. That's why I had to wait as long, because I had to wait out for these other two matches to show up, even though I could technically watch it through Patreon, and I kind of did. But even though I also watched it through a Zoom thing with some friends from some other Patreons of some sort that are so much Schmoedown related, I guess. Shout out to all my Gucci's. You know who you are, and you put up with some shit that night. Thank you. So, as far as the matches themselves, oh my gosh, it started out, or at least we had a pretty good stack, and even the matches that weren't, that to make up for being non-title matches, had to be big in a certain kind of way, and fill in certain moments where they needed to, and they had to pre-tape this, so they kind of knew what was going on, and they had to find a way to build into it, given that time frame, and hold off on. Eventually, there's going to be a point where he'll probably have to, I don't know how long he's going to have to wait till he can unleash the tough. Yeah. Spoilers. And as a man who did one of those fan pages, by the way, of course I'm going to say something about it. You don't think I'm not? Which is why I'm going to probably have to leave this unlisted, and it won't be showing until the singles title match. But anyways, I loved it. I love the guy stuff. They continue doing that. This was great. Even though for some reason with most of them up until the end one, spaced out a little bit. Unless there's some hints in those scenes that I need to recheck on. But either way, Oscar worthy. Once again, guy at least doing the only other thing he can kind of do. And the fact he's able to still do this somewhat virtually in a way. Or at least POV style, in bringing out his more Oscar-worthy performances out of him, and that's mostly what we're going to wind up getting out of him, because there's nothing else to give him, since he's not going to be playing virtual anymore next season, which means they're not going to be drafting him. I don't think he'll even make it into the draft. It's possible that maybe they will, but I don't know if they're going to build into it, him being in the draft or not. Where the storyline's going to go about it, all I know is they're building up Because more likely he's going to be in the draft. He's not going to get signed. Unless they come up with some weird storyline thing last minute and then eventually put it on to the actual match or something in the Schmoedown for it, I guess. I don't know. But even though I'll just say, no, guys, all right. As someone of the Action Army, and those who are in the Action Army will tell you as well in the comments probably if they bother to. So, other than that, the matches themselves. Oh. Sorry, the matches themselves. Initially, I was going to bank on the fact of what happened with Jericho and Yun, other than, my girl did pull, other than, well, two of these aren't that big of a deal, spoilers, because those are already out. One is going to eventually come out this coming Friday. Sorry. Also another thing, which is would be more of a bigger spoiler in the sense of a nice reveal that they chose to do, and I lost my shit in that Zoom watch along. I honestly wish someone would have taped it so you would have seen my face. Because it's as raw as it's going to get. Is there a way you could hit it and it go a different... No, I guess not. Sorry. I'm distracted because I was thinking, maybe there's a way I can get this to sound a certain way. No, never mind. The match between the challenger Andres Ace Cabrera and the champion, still to this day, Alex the Demon Damon. Yeah. Demon's on a tear. He at least got to do what he needed to do in IG. He got lucky enough to have a chance to be in a semifinals of an IG tournament and face Kalinowski. Didn't go his way, but it lit a fire in his ass to make sure I want to keep my title and stay about as relevant as possible before this passes me by like it does with Cannon. Apparently Whitwer, because Whitwer knew when he needed to quit, I guess, but I just wished he didn't. I just wish he had waited a couple more weeks so we could have gotten the one match we should have had at that one collision. Because let's face it, the Star Wars match we did get was sort of a very massively last-minute plan that just... And ever since then, Damon has done other things to prove it, but yet everyone else still is talking about the fact we should have had him and Whitwer. And the only way at this point it's going to happen if it's an exhibition, and if Alex Damon, someone finally knocks that belt off of him, and he officially decides to say, fuck it, I retire. It's the only way. It's the only way. And then, of course, and unfortunately gets TKO'd. And it sucks that all of a sudden, the luck he had with what is supposed to be his favorite Star Wars movie being solo a Star Wars story, a solo stand, couldn't twice screwed him in costing him the match in both round 3 where he was confident in what happened, but it was kind of, the wording of the question was so screwy that it fucked him. That a complaint which was more confusing than the actual, his challenge being more confusing than the question itself, really. They said things when they should have said resources, and he would have had to have said those 3 things that he should have said that Alex had said. And it wouldn't have been a question of anything. So he got confused. So he only screwed himself over in that. And especially, and being as confident as he thinks he could be, getting the 3 points that he probably could have needed massively. And that caused a 10-point deficit to where he lucked out. Clearly, he managed to luck out in the sense that Damon was not able to get the same question that he apparently missed as well. Because if the game would have been over, he'd have been knocked out. And luckily, he was able to at least get the 2-pointer. But once again, Solo screwed him. And somehow, or it's gotten to the point where the Solo Star Wars Story questions. And now it's gotten so screwy that now they're starting to open themselves up to other things in Star Wars and TV. But now that opens the question to all the other leagues when it comes to that. For TV, too. So they're kind of now putting themselves in a position for these people that are the trivia types nerds, even though they need to not worry as much about it and focus and try to bring. That's why they need to try to bring back and get people to focus on the WWE elements that they forgot about. That's why this past season was not that great, and hopefully we're hoping for War to be a better one, or at least the way it's coming up all across. They want this to be a more Raw is War type feel, because he's still kind of hammering down his time of being in the Attitude Era, though apparently there was certain thing in the Attitude Era that he was a writer for that wasn't working out, that involved Trish and something, apparently. Even though there was, which I feel bad for him. Maybe it was like the latter part of the Attitude Era where it's starting to kind of come to a freaking halt, and I guess that's at certain points, though, or at least it was peaking and then it was starting to go downhill, and he unfortunately was not helping in that case. Maybe I don't know if that's what was happening, because that's why when it comes, and now this 3-way match thing, Clark Wolf for the first time gets to do something commissioner oriented since kind of the 3-for-all thing segment, I guess. And so does this 3-way match. I don't think it'll be that, though Damon will want to do it as a challenge, but I think DeMolanto doesn't, because he would rather have him one-on-one. I'd rather have it one-on-one. I think it'd be a more fair thing. But if Damon somehow still wins, and I don't think DeMolanto will do it, but they'll try to set up a story to where they will make it happen, and I think it's kind of stupid that at this point it's stupid to do it. Just let DeMolanto have his match, and let Kelly and Molly duke it out, and hope Molly wins it this time so we can see Damon versus Damon like we all want, instead of Damon versus DeMolanto, which would just, because by that point that's just the Damon family attacking DeMolanto, and it's just gonna look stupid. Other than that, I mean, it's just the match was fine. A good Roxy needed something going in, some kind of a win, I guess, going in. Plus, now that confirmed that she's probably going to wind up signing him. She'd be stupid not to. Don't know about Jericho on this, but however, the way it turns out, I must have misread something, because, like I said, I had to rewatch this Star Wars and the Judgment match, which now I know where the whole thing about Hannah comes in, and they decided to actually go with that storyline when he's trying to, through free agency, start a free agency period with him and Hannah, because apparently Kaiser thought he was doing a service. And so you need to work on your coffee and you work on your cooking skills, buddy. So at the end, it's kind of started, and it doesn't help that the promo earlier showcases essentially showcasing that, which is a pointless one, other than the fact that it was meant to sort of be kind of funny, but also show that Sabrina's kind of gone heel, I guess, or at least is a better, or at least they set it up to where she comes off with more of a personality to her than, even though it made the way it's whatever. Neither of them have won a match, so it just kind of, but it's just more blowing hot air, and it just doesn't service what's going on with Spectacular as much, but it just builds this supposed ideal storyline, but I guess they're trying to make them power couple, but in the way that these, or self-proclaimed in the same way that, like, that early stages of Miz and Maria were, I guess. Even though Harloff wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. But anyways, the match. That match was solid. I'm glad Dungeon gets to go out on a good note, and especially a note that shows that Kaiser, unlike Gucci, because your track record has not showcased the best in this regard, knows how to handle its female competitors, or at least how to do so in such a way that they know how to put out some W's. I'm grateful. I'm a very happy dungeon master. So, and even though I'll admit for Denguchi's cases of those, or at least, well, except for one of them because there's a dungeon win, of course, we're going to just, whatever, just be lucky, Sabrina, you even got to play. Or at least, I mean, your round one, despite your round one, you showed it after that you could still play, it just wasn't enough. Enough, and especially with a very heated Vinny Mancuso, so yeah, don't mess with the ice pick. Sea cold. But anyways, which I'm hoping he does it, he is in the draft. He should be. If he's not going to get picked up by Kaiser, it'd be cool if he does, because like so far he fits with Kaiser, so pretty well, I'd say personally. But or at least give him another year with the dungeon. That'd be nice. Give Video Drew another year in dungeon. Give Brittany another year, or at least try to draft them at least, and finally give the pairing that I guess Drew kind of wanted with her and Vinny. Let's see how that goes. It'll be interesting. It'll make up for the lack of Looney Bin that we're going to be getting since Tom ain't a thing. I lose Tom and Smash. It's like, well, I guess this next coming season you're not going to get to see what I've been doing. My Tom segments are done. Ugh. But anyways, the matches themselves is, I dig him. I dig him. That one was fine. It basically came down to the 5-pointer for Jericho. I wish it would have kind of come down to the Britney's and a little bit. But the fact that it even came down to a 5-pointer is nice. It's not as tight as what happened in his last match against Smith. We'll get to Smith later because he does have a match himself, and that one was, though that one not as, I guess Jericho and Young was a tighter match, but then that follow-up match, but it does showcase that with that one, Smith's ready, but ready to take on whatever, for sure. And the way they handled his promos are, oh my god. Especially given the following matches, the team's title, which was amazing. I don't know if I can say it's better than Who's the Boss and Shire Wolves, because that of these spectacular-based matches, teams-wise, it is the best. Shazam and them. Unfortunately, it wasn't a great performance by Odd Couple compared to what they were putting out in the tournament. Which is a bit of a bummer and makes it more shocking and surprising, the turnaround in round 5. Because they managed to do enough to force them to have to answer, because all they need to do is the 2 and 3. Brandon misses the 2. Which means, no matter what, because we know Bibbs would have hit his 3 regardless. Because now not hitting 2, they have to answer their 5. And it was, of all things, one of my faves of the Tom Cruise films. Edge of Tomorrow. I wish I remembered it as Edge of Tomorrow, even though I had to say live to repeat in a thing with the Zoom thing. But anyways, well, having been. But anyways. Because apparently no one knows how to which one, even though it should be Edge of Tomorrow. But I had to cop out and do that and another thing. But whatever. Eventually. Also, the What the Show thing was cool. But anyways, you should check that out. I had some funny little things in the chats. But anyways, and give the juice, AJ, Lancaster, and the Deacons, or at least soon to be Mr. and Mrs. Mike and Bethany Deacon, coming in April, which I think will be, that's why I'm also kind of in a hurry of doing this right now, guys, because if Biden has his way, we're going to be in from what I've heard rumors on, we're going to be in a 4-month lockdown. And if that is like anything like the 3 month of last earlier this year. I can't take it because I'm not going to be able to do what I've been doing here. And which has kind of been what's kind of kept me, besides the groups and stuff within the community, has kind of been what's kept me sane. Or at least something I've enjoyed. And if I'm getting cut and I can't, unless I have a buddy who still has a good enough internet connection, but the place he lives at is no longer has, so I don't even know if he has internet anymore. I need to talk to him about that, but so at least good enough that I can do the stuff I've been doing, but I don't know. But anyways, the matches themselves, that match came down to 5-putter, and because other than shit in the bed in round 5, they were still killing it. Both teams were doing pretty well, but it did get to a point where Snyder seemed like he was checked out a little bit. But yet somehow, in a way, Roxy found a way to steer him in and just try to do what he could to encourage them to at least get them out of TKO range. And surprisingly, somehow, win those freaking belts, become 2-time champs. And technically, in Snyder's case, 3-time champ. And he's going to be holding that belt for a while, given where teams is going, because Harlow's done doing it virtual. This is the last match we're going to get. We're going to have to enjoy it as much as we possibly can. Which is why I'm glad this match turned out as well as it did, but it was such a hype, it makes me more angry that we got to wait until we finally get in studio, which won't be probably till April. But anyways, other than that, the matchup between sorry, pizza, some of that tomato sauce. Anyways, that I rooted for a chance. You said there was a chance. The fuck? We're telling you what? No, the fuck that's about it. I know that's his name. I don't care. It was a swerve to take him down and not let him be the one to retain. Damn it, it was supposed to be him. Supposed to be him. You despite what this looks like, dude. The match itself was whatever. I kind of chipped. I was pissed. So much so. Because I was invested, but I was so pissed because the way things turned out. And he was so far enough behind that it didn't matter. Now you're lucky that Shannon even kept you. Just because of your association in terms of the team name between you and even though you were the better of the two between him and Kalinowski. But if anything, your loss is going to become corruption's gain, more so for Kalinowski once he finally does come after that belt. However, that's when the cutscene happened and my hopes come in, and the one person I felt that I didn't realize was going to had decided to wind up retiring because she was mentally checked out herself in a similar way to Brienne, I guess, and some other health issues. But because it's virtual and she's able to mentally be prepared a little more, even though she was drafted this season and never really got to play at all, and I think because of the pandemic and the risk of it, she couldn't, even though they started virtual. You'd think because of that, they would have, but I guess she wasn't mentally ready for it. Or at least able to gather enough of her bearings to be able to be mentally ready and it just wound up being, I hope she drafts Mara anyway, because she knows now that, because this opens the number one contendership, which I forgot to mention about that number one contendership, which, no, actually I didn't, but never mind. So it's frustrating up until the Mara thing, which gives me hope with that. And she's cashing in against Chandra, even though it should have been Smets. I should have had my Mara Smets match. You ruined that for me, 2020. The only good thing you did was but Chandra may still think he has that belt. Yeah, he may have the belt, and he seems to have the retain, even though he's got nothing. Like, even though he had to be cheap about it beforehand, and I think he also got cheap in the match itself with the challenge. So, you have to resort to certain tactics because you're desperate. I'm giving, if any of your whatever win cred you have, it's all going to Winston. It's all going to Winston. You don't know how to hold back when you're supposed to. Harlov's going along with it because he thinks it's still part of it, but you did go too far. And now you've chosen to legitimately make an enemy of Smets. And Smash. In fact, it's an even bigger... And hell, in fact, him coming out with the cancer bullshit, which only made my 2020 as Dungeon Master worse. Made it even hard to watch that match. Because if anything, and he was dealing with it. And you still couldn't knock his fucking ass out, could you, you son of a bitch? We didn't have to come to this. You've lost my respect. You've lost all of it. You had a lot to... But I'm in a tangent. I'm sorry. I've even had a far worse than that Zoom, so that's the only thing that I'm glad wasn't like, if they did record, was not recorded. Not like it mattered because it's here, but, and I've said it enough in other times. I'm not done talking about it. And there are many of Chandra stands. It's probably part of the reason why Mac probably ain't talking to me, because I know she's the one that kind of started that group. It's fine. I was fine with him up to a point. But you had to be a whiny little bitch. I never questioned you before as a competitor. Up until then. Up until your match with Smash. Your second match with Smash. Which further goes to show you didn't even get a chance to really face Smash. Not the real Smash. And even then, like I said, you didn't get TKO'd. He's never once gotten knocked out himself. He's if anything, he's been the one that's done the knockouts, or at least he's had some legit competition. I wish you could say that for you, but nah, it's just that it's really just Winston. That's fine-tuned, whatever the fuck you've become. Only good credit I'll give. Again. Other than that, and then just now I want to go talk to the happiest thing, and I'm going to have to spoil it because I have a fan page for this too. And I can't wait to finally unload it on that fan page when it finally becomes public. At the time of this recording. And that's motherfucking the Flirtenflaus! I knew it. The moment I saw the clip, I knew it. And I should have known it the way they were kind of setting it up earlier in that week of Sin. God damn it. Fucking A, man. And the moment it happened, I was like... And plus, it was a perfect idea. Because if he did wind up losing this match, which is what happened, it wouldn't technically count on Brett's record. He'd still be undefeated. And it was also a way because one of the better aspects and things of 2020 that was a bright spot during those early days of the pandemics and the craziness that was ensuing between Harloff and Brett Sheridan was the creation of the closest and best thing to Gucci ever. The Captain Flouse is in the house. How's this cold? But it is. Unfortunately, it was a TKO, but it didn't matter. Because it was that inner level of the kind of WWE entertainment that we were missing in a good way that I think Harloff was hoping to get out of the Wild Bears Civil War. That if he had done it earlier and gotten a chance to do it earlier in the season, if it was in studio, would have come off better. While it was more relevant, because there was so much crap going on, and with the coronavirus happening, it was shit. It just that throwdown just was not doing anything for me, and the only thing I was bothered to be invested in was because of my association as Dungeon Master was the undercard. Which I feel bad for Jen Kemp and hope she does come back. I know she's 0-2, but she's not a bad player. These are better. She's shown she can be better. It's just that Drew was on a different level, and the level I was hoping to see that I think Kaiser and even myself were hoping to see from her. That, or whatever was magic she had in during the Looney Bin tournament finally showed up here in singles, and it was about fucking time for that too. Which is why those wins between them two, which are the only ladies of the dungeon, you are ladies. I will probably say this eventually by tomorrow of this recording. You are the light of the dungeon. You are the, respectively, you and Yun are the moonlight and the sunshine of the dungeon. And through what's happened to close out 2020 for the dungeon, you've helped keep the lights on for us, and in ways I couldn't even imagine sometimes, and in ways I was hoping one would, and I turned into a darker spot in a different kind of way that I don't think any of us wanted. But it did open up a sense of awareness, which I would wear that damn shirt if I could find it. Because apparently I lost that, and I was hoping to use the kazoo in this. Yeah. If you ever wondered what a kazoo would have sounded like with this on it, it would have been great. Another video, another time, I guess. I was hoping to use it for this, but yeah. Anyways, other than that, and that TKO was fine. And also Grace is done. Yes, Grace is just, and unfortunately, it seems that we've seen a change in pace from after the loss. It seems the den is, Grace is kicked out. The den mother persona has sort of changed, and Kate's just Kate for right now, as opposed to then the Chicago Kate's gone. So she's just going to focus on revamping and changing the den and making it better, because it started off strong, and it's really more just the fact that it was just they were doing well, and then coronavirus hit and screwed them. Just even more so than the dungeon, when it was more hopeful for us to start with, and then Parker's loss is when shit really went, then things really started to go to shit. Smash's loss was when I was like, fuck me, I did kind of lose hope. I was trying to hang in there, and that's why I'm very grateful to Video Drew and Brittany Young, and hope they still keep the lights, Kaiser still at least keeps them in and keeps the lights on. Or at least what light they've shown from this currently cold Dungeon Master's heart. So, thank you. If you're watching this, so. Or if not, I'm sure Smets or somebody that's a dungeon watching will hopefully relay the message, or at least I'll put something in the dungeon at some point. I was hoping to. But anyways, the final match. I was hoping this was slated to be the match we finally needed to have. given the track records of both players going into this match, to be what Ellis and Merle was in the first Spectacular, and we have yet to see a main event live up to even that. Not that there weren't moments involved in those matches, result-wise mostly, that were amazing. But the matches themselves have been luckily not as bad as Spectacular 2, which is what, and the fact that the Star Wars match was the bigger match is kind of but this was everything I think we needed it to be. This match, even Bateman himself will already have said it is better than the Atlanta match, but there will be some people who've been there at the live event that I also know is also in the Gucci version that will say otherwise. So yeah, and at this point, Shannon's won that. By this point, it's already kind of clear, but at least because of the loss of Ace that Ace had against in the Star Wars match, any even chance that Winston would have had went out the window. But that he would have had to getting the faction champion, because it basically it would have, if she had won that match, it literally would have balled down to Chandru and the IG tournament, the IG match. That was the only way, and it seems the way things have gone points wise, yeah, I'm glad that this turned out the way this match turned out. We needed this for a singles title match, and it was a good follow up. The way this and the end of everything, including the cutscenes, apparently, no matter what would have happened, I think the plan was the Founding Fathers were done. It was just a matter of what was going to happen. That would be the deciding factor for Gucci storyline-wise, because they went with that. Because given the way, even with way Ben was acting because of what had happened in his match against Merle, there was going to be a follow-up and how that was going to come across, given the way the Founding Fathers match did in the semifinals for that turned out, unfortunately for them. And that's what happened. The Founding Fathers are definitely done. The Gucci's looking more like an idiot, even though he had to basically in the Gucci chats calm the rest of us down, especially some of those who kind of, let's be honest, have issues with the Outlaw. I'm okay with them, but I get the complaints sometimes with some of it. But we were grateful to finally, in terms of the Schmoedown, finally see him be what we were expecting. The heel Outlaw is back. And Gucci basically kept O'Reilly, decided to keep O'Reilly, and I don't know if Bateman will come back. I doubt he'll come back as signed, though. But there's now hints that it's a 1% chance by Ben Bateman himself that he'll go back to Gucci. But he has to have one hell of a fucking teammate for him to even think of even stepping in. It's possible that if he has kept anyone, it's more than, because if he loses Barbarian, that's when they're playing a little too much into him being too stupid. Keeping Roca, given the track record he's had virtually, is not a good thing. But if this light fire under his ass, be as the Outlaw, and him saying that he's been under shadow and held him back, and basically going as far as the Gucci calling as far as to call Merle a loser. It's going to be interesting, because especially now that, Who's the Boss is already broken up. And that bummed me more. I forgot about that cutscene, by the way. But the only thing that didn't, I guess, is, well, he's back to heel Ben. The real question is, what's going to happen? And his laugh, everyone says his laugh is like injuries, but that's because he also had a similar laugh because he was part of a team action thing. So, this is that Boss Bateman is back. or at least the attitude of the heel boss. The player he's been, on the other hand, it's going to be interesting to see this Ben Bateman as a player, because I'm part of the NIS, Nerds in Suits, and I got to have one-on-one last night. It was, by the way, not disclosing anything, even though it was mostly music talking to me, because I didn't know what else to talk about. That's the only thing. That's all you need to know. You don't even have to know details. There were some other things, but mostly it's remained confidential. That's all you need to know. That's nothing serious. And even nothing came up Schmoedown wise. I may decide to, if he decides to see this and want to talk on it, but he's ready, and a lot of us want to see him win that damn belt. And he finally had a moment where one of us was on the ropes with him. And he finally pulled the win in a similar way with Merle the last couple times, and he pulled a win. If that doesn't say he's... even though he's had some stumbling issues in certain other categories, but it's clear he's improving, which is enough to say, y'all need to watch the fuck out. Like Smash, I was also Action Army too, which only made my love for Smith's cheer even more, especially everyone who's seen the one little cutscene from Late to the Party, from last year. That moment, that's why it just makes me so sad. And then why you torture me when you show me? Wait. But anyways, and then the cutscene, the fucking cutscene. Are you fucking kidding me? You built up so well up to this point, and you see him in the back alley. He gets knocked out. We don't even get to see who the actual face is. We just see a mask. And, I mean, the only thing about this is confirming Schmoedown's real, but we kind of already have that idea from the way things were hinted at from the other promos. It's proof, sure, but no real reveal, given all we've been speculating. You're willing to leave us on this kind of a cliffhanger. I'm just lucky the way everything else turned out was so good enough. I'm still invested. But if I was starting off with just this and I didn't have everything, that kind of a cutscene kind of comes off as blue balls to me, man. A little bit. And I do appreciate the Ben thing, but let's face it. How long is Gaga been able to pull this off for 2 months? I mean, he can't keep doing that for his Action Industries. He can't hide from do that kind of stuff. And I'm glad that he hasn't. Because he's still got to run Action Industries as a business with Bateman, so... And I wouldn't mind... I just hope things work out. I don't know. He's... So, of those who are actually wondering if he's actually okay and not the Kafe character thing, yes, he's fine. So, I already told that earlier in the video, but anyways, it's fine. And apparently, like them telling us, of course, Collins was kept because he wound up winning the damn belt. He beat the GOAT. So, I mean, at some point, given the way this is set up, if we're not at least gonna still get, I wish it would have been on a much more pleasant circumstances, which we almost had and never did because Roka. Even though that was to sudden death, which is weird, but he hasn't been able to pull wins. He's played great. It's just the result. It just doesn't end well for him. With him, it seems, and it's unfortunate for Merle with teams. He's had one with Riley, and now he's had one with Roka. Even though they got belts, so that worked out, but. aside from the separate belts they had. But anyways, whatever. I'm happy and I'm grateful we got what we got today. Thank you. What did you guys think of the matches of the Spectacular? What do you think of what's been going on with free agency? I'm looking forward to a lot of what's going on. Hell, Flickinger's coming in. That one makes me more excited. Finding out where finding out that Taylor Robinson as well as Jacob London's finally coming back. There's some other players that apparently have been in fan leagues a while that haven't had a chance to and that are coming back. I hope Parker gets a chance because people did sleep on him. He should have at least got a nomination, and I think that's stupid that he didn't. But I guess because he hadn't went so far in the tournament that he's not even considered. But again, given that chance, wound up unfortunate. That's why I'm even more bummed Chance lost, because if you're going to beat my boy, and having beaten even your partner and former two-time champ, in IG champ, in the finals, which once again, a finals where Kalinowski goes all the way, but never wins it. You know, somehow corruption always finds a way with IG. Never gives us anything, and that's why we had to do what we had to do in 2019. And I still miss Dungeon 2019. I'm gonna miss it more with my boy gone. I have another dude that's still running the dungeon and doing what he can. I just hope and so everyone that has been in the dungeon,